call this meeting of the Clackamas County Commission to order and ask if you would rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the first time in what seems like a long time, we have 5 commissioners today, and that's because we have our newly minted commissioner, Jamie Damon, at the far right of me, and we would like to take this opportunity to welcome her. She comes with a lot of experience. She lives in Eagle Creek, which is in the east side of the county, and brings I think a rural perspective that we're looking forward to. As well, she has a long experience in the private sector. She's worked 16 years as a principal in a business that she helped found, and most of that in working in community relations and what do you call that? Public involvement specialist, working on negotiations and very difficult private and public processes. So I would like to introduce Jamie and let her tell us a little bit about herself, or generally what you would like your new constituents to know.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm just so honored to have been selected from a huge pool of qualified applicants, and I'm pleased to be able to serve the county in this way. You know, there's 3 reasons why I applied for the commission. One was because I love where I live. I love the county. It's a wonderful place to raise a family, and I wanted to be able to work where I live. So that's one. The second is I'm a public policy mediator, and I bring 25 years of experience of working with communities and government in conflict, particularly around transportation issues. So that's something I'd like to be able to offer to the county. And the third is we have a very rural county, and I would like to be that voice for the rural communities, and I plan to, in the first couple of months, meet with CPOs and with hamlets and villages and with the cities, not just in the rural areas but across the county, to get a better understanding of what is important to them so that I can build an agenda to work from, and I'd like to make sure that the rural perspective is part of our deliberations.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we welcome you on board and look forward to working with you.
Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is citizen communication. I have 2 people signed up, Richard Langdon and Mark Leisel. You're welcome to come up together or separately since you're both here on the same issue.
Good morning.
Morning.
Richard Langdon, Portland, Oregon. I have, our group has collected another 250 plus signatures on petitions, which of that we have 248 to submit today. That makes a total of 850 signatures of people in Clackamas County. They're asking for the commissioner's help with the same items and in the same way as being asked of our group, from our group. Unfortunately, there's not enough time today to read one of the petitions again, but I'll do that next week. Let me first offer a thank you from our group to the Board of County Commissioners for offering to meet with us about food cart, this whole mobile food cart issue, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much, seriously. And we'd like to offer a special thanks to Commissioner Paul Savas for making the motion to do so at the last business meeting. Given the 3-minute rule, I have enough time only to talk about just one subject that came up at last 2 weeks ago meeting. And that subject is far outweighs mobile food carts itself, and that issue is targeting by the Clackamas County staff. At this point, our group would also like to thank the Commissioner, again, Commissioner Paul Savas for his willingness to address the targeting issue in Clackamas County. We'd also like to thank Commissioner Jim Bernard for asking to hear from anyone that feels they have been targeted in Clackamas County. Our group would like to point out just one example of targeting by the Clackamas County staff. The county staff is aware of many mobile food carts operating in unincorporated Clackamas County that have not gone through any kind of land use process. And they continue to insist that these food carts are in violation of a code. Yet, we are aware of only one code violation citation in place for over a year relating to mobile food carts in the same area. As has been pointed out time and time again, Clackamas County staff insist that they do not enforce the land use code unless they receive a complaint or unless someone makes an application with the planning department. They do this in spite of being fully aware of a violation or an alleged violation, as the case may be. This behavior of enforcement or non-enforcement of a code at the staff's choosing as a normal course of business is targeting. It's called selective enforcement of a code, and it's illegal, and it goes well beyond land use law. There are other stories of targeting behavior that our group, and we expect others, can share with the commissioners in the weeks to come. And I would also like to invite the television viewers at home to communicate these stories when they have the opportunity to do so as well. It's important for our county. The community where the citizens within it are afraid to speak due to fear is a dysfunctional place that will find it difficult to achieve the goals it sets for itself. I have more, but I'll do it next week, unless I can go on now.
Well, probably you should wrap up for today, and we'll
Thank you.
see you back again next week.
Not a problem. I have plenty more weeks.
Okay. Next one is Mark.
Thank you.
Your name and address, and you have 3 minutes on the clock.
Oh, hello. I have not been in front of the commissioners before, but my name is Mark Lysick. Address is 3127 Northeast 7th Avenue, and that's Portland. I'm a partner on a parcel of ground in Clackamas County, and it's been discussed, today and previously in the last 2 business meetings, that my partners and I have had a violation imposed by us on the property for the operation of food carts without design review approval. Design review applies per the ordinance to all development, redevelopment, expansions, and improvements, and to other uses as required by the planning director, the hearings officer, or the board of county commissioners. Design review is being applied at the discretion of the planning director at this time and not by any existing code. Any mobile food cart code does not exist. How many people have been stopped for speeding and asked what the speeding limit was and was told it was discretionary and up to the police officer? It's not fair. Mobile food carts are governed and regulated. They are governed and regulated for safety and operation by State of Oregon statute and the State Department of Motor Vehicles. They have a license plate and they have a registration. Mobile food carts are also governed by the Public Health Department here at Clackamas County. They're issued a license to operate. They're inspected, and the license is renewed annually. I have a list from the Health Department here of over 90 mobile food carts that the Clackamas County Health Department governs now, of which none I'm aware of except for our mobile food cart has been asked to apply for design review at this time. I have stated how mobile food carts are governed by both the State of Oregon and Clackamas County Health Department. I'm asking, what will Clackamas County do? Will they require design review for all mobile food carts that they are aware of? Will Clackamas County selectively enforce design review only on our mobile food cart? Or will Clackamas County completely remove the violation on our mobile food cart and draft a code as agreed upon in the April 12th work session as myself, my partners, and I believe we have about 850 petitions signed have asked for. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Perhaps we can, I can ask the administrator, I believe we have a meeting scheduled.
We do, and I can give you time, date, and location for that.
Yeah.
It would be Tuesday, July 12th, 4 p.m., Development Services Building, room 118. That's the ground floor of the building across from here. And so we are moving forward with that, and per the request of the board, we're ready
Okay.
to engage in that.
All right, we will pursue that then. I don't have any other blue cards, and so if there's no one else here to testify, we will move on to the next item. We don't have any discussion items today, which brings us to the consent agenda, and I will ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title only.
Okay. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, we have approval of a contract amendment number 2 with Northwest Housing Alternatives to provide homeless prevention services to individuals, couples, and families with children who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless in Clackamas County. Number 2, approval of amendment number 2 to the interagency agreement with the City of Lake Oswego Adult Community Center to provide social services for Clackamas County residents. Number 3, approval of a renewal grant agreement from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Supportive Housing Program for the Ready to Rent Permanent Housing Solution Program for the purpose of reducing barriers to access permanent housing and homeless participants. Number 4, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Portland State University for the provision of 2 fellowship interns to work with the primary care program. Number 5 is approval of an interagency agreement between Community Development and the Development Agency for the North Clackamas Revitalization Area Phase 2 Street Improvement Project. Under the Finance Department, we have approval of a third amendment to the lease agreement with HLW Associates for the Clackamas County Record Center. And number 2 is approval of a second amendment to the lease agreement with HLW Associates for the District Attorney's Family Support Division. Under elected officials, we have approval of previous business meeting minutes. Under Technology Services, we have approval to purchase a Cisco networking equipment from Mountain State Networking. Under the Water Environment Services, we have acceptance of easements on behalf of North Clackamas Service District Number 1 for the North Clackamas Revitalization Area Sanitary Sewer Project Phase 3. And number 2 is approval of an amended intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County Service District Number 1 and the City of Milwaukee regarding North Clackamas Revitalization Area Sanitary Sewer Projects. And that concludes the consent agenda.
And I would just remind people that the full packet for this meeting that includes much more detailed information on those items that were just read by title is available online, and you should be seeing that on your screen right now, demonstrating where you can go and click and pull up mountains of information on any of these topics. And with that, I would request a...
Make the motion. Here.
Well, I was actually going to abstain only because I haven't been involved in the conversation since I just started yesterday. So I can make a motion next week.
Okay.
Thank you, though. I appreciate
welcome.
the entree.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernard and seconded by Commissioner Leininger that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the items?
Actually, I
Bernard.
just have a question. Do we ever get things where they're lowering the contract agreement, or would that be a decision made by the department or you?
I don't recall one lowering it going through the board because the issue is more with additive. but if you wanted to, I guess we
No,
could.
I was just wondering. You just never see, well, we're lowering the contract price. Actually, the district attorney, who has in the past paid for a warehouse piece that he doesn't use, is actually reducing the square footage and paying less consequently. And he mentioned that to me, so there is somewhat of a reduction, but I was just wondering. Thanks.
If there's no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstaining?
Abstain.
Yes. And with that, it passes 4-0-1. I have to do my math. And that brings us to Commissioner Communication. Start with Paul Savas.
Okay, well, I'm pleased to have our new commissioner. Now we have 5, and that's a welcome step here. And I'm hoping that at this point in time that we can get together as a board of county commissioners and talk about the future as far as planning, strategic planning priorities, and how we position ourselves in the region with our agenda, both at MPAC and JPAC, which are subcommittees of Metro. I think it's really time we really look at our long-range planning and determine how we're going to take our next steps forward.
Commissioner Leidinger.
I want to draw to the attention of the viewers that yesterday we had a really important milestone. The Budget Committee, which is comprised of commissioners and also citizen members, approved an FY 2011-2012 budget that has an unprecedented investment in human services, basic safety net programs. This budget will enable us to serve 13,000 additional people in this county who are low income or lack health insurance at all, but who need primary health care or mental health services or addiction recovery services. And that's really important, not just to keep those people stable and help them get back into the paid workforce, but keep their families stable, prevent violence, and also prevent costs. Because we know that a huge cost driver in the criminal justice system is unrecovered addiction and untreated mental illness. And so by addressing those, we're giving voice to a huge priority of this board, which is invest in prevention so that we can make efficient use of community resources. I'm really pleased that we made this decision with the upcoming budget, and I hope you'll share my enthusiasm for that. Thanks.
Also in the budget, we provided additional funding to support the recommendations by the committee formulated to look at some issues in the Sheriff's Department, including some additional jail staff, motors, which is traffic, and so be careful not to speed. And also, one other thing, I guess those are the 3 things. We also added some additional funding for veterans training programs through Community Solutions, and those programs will, about 50% of the vets come back from serving the citizens of the United States, and they're unemployed. So this would provide some additional training, also some additional training for people in the corrections system. Many of those people will return back to jail or back into the corrections system unless they're provided some opportunity to learn about how to get new jobs, how to apply for those jobs, how to address the question when it comes up, have you ever been convicted of a crime? So some of those things will hopefully reduce some of our recidivism rate, and actually our jail recidivism rate is about 70%, which is fairly common for jails. Our community corrections recidivism rate is much, much lower, under 20%. I believe, I don't want to be specific, so I'm trying to be a little careful there, but we actually have some great programs and been very successful. I had an opportunity to tour the jail again today. I had an opportunity to eat there a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't recommend the food. It certainly was well done, and the price was right, about 93 cents a meal. But you can imagine 93 cents a meal is not that great a meal. But I think we really do a good job. But I was also there with a Blue Ribbon Committee that's looking at the sheriff's levy, which will be up in 2012, and looking at how we could pass that levy, which would be no increase in taxes. And some of that increase provides jail superintendents and additional beds, which a few years ago before the levy passed, we had to let a lot of people go when sometimes some time in jail to either heal from addictions or, I should say, withdraw from addiction, get some training. Instead, we had to let them out. And so those dollars helped, which I believe is about $7 to $8 million that levy provides, has made it the jail a place that we can keep people who deserve to be there for a longer time and perhaps save their lives and protect the citizens. So that levy, which will be on the ballot, we don't know yet, is very important. But while I was there was an incident with a mental health person. By the way, our jails have become our mental health facilities because of the lack of facilities in this state. And a large portion of those people go to jail instead of getting help. And of course, we do try to provide help, but there was an incident with an individual that required a flash bomb and tear gas in order to calm things down, and the jail was in lockdown just while a big group of us were touring it again. But the sheriff does a really great job protecting the safety of that individual and other individuals. And I believe we had to go around so we didn't get tear gassed. But the jail's not a fun place to be. And I don't recommend that you spend much time there. So anyway, it was an interesting morning. Thank you.
Commissioner Damon.
Well, just a couple things, and I mentioned it in my introduction that one of the things I want to do right away is get on my calendar the meetings of the CPOs and the hamlets and villages and the cities in the county, so I can get out and meet people and get a sense of what their priorities are and concerns. So that I'm going to have a very busy next couple months, and then I'm also going to be meeting individually with each of you to get a better handle on your priorities, so that I can not be redundant to the things that you're all doing, and we can work as an efficient team. So those are some things that I'm going to be working on over the next, really right away, actually. This afternoon I'll be getting those all on my calendar. So.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to bring people up to speed on kind of where we were yesterday. I was down at the legislature, and we were expecting that some legislation regarding dog agility training in Clackamas County would be coming out of Rules Committee, but kind of at the last minute there were some amendments presented that were problematic, and it was pulled from the Rules Committee, and this late in the session will probably not move forward this session. However, there is a commitment on the part of a bipartisan consortium of legislators to work through the issues and the amendments that kind of hung it up here at the end, starting as soon as next week, in preparation for the February session. So for people who have been watching this issue, and I know there have been probably 30 people involved in the dog agility training world who have been tracking this down in the legislature throughout the session, and I know they've worked really hard on it. But I wanted to let them know that we continue to support some legislation that would clarify those activities, and we will continue to move forward on our way to a resolution in February if it doesn't happen this session. So, with that, if there are no other items before the commission, we are adjourned.